Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Everlasting Veteran Podcast. I am joined in studio by some amazing individuals around the globe. We're going to start off with top to bottom. On my left, your right, we have UK counterpart for Support Vets, Gary McMillan. He's owner and founder of Families for Veterans. Dr. Rob Garcia, Rob Warrior, strategist out in California, Air Force veteran, PR, visibility expert. And then we also have the owner and founder of Support Vets, Walter Brock. And last but not least, you may have seen him in many interviews or interviewed other great entrepreneurs. We have Marshall Taryn, United States Marine Corps veteran, business owner, and we're going to dive into Support Vets, how this intricately can be put to your business, being able to be visible and everything else. Gentlemen, welcome to Everlasting Veteran.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start off with Walter. Dive in a little bit. You're a veteran yourself, and you saw a need to help veteran-owned businesses and veteran organizations. And what did that mean to you, and how did this start?
Definitely. Thank you. So coming out of the service, I was an Army Ordnance officer, actually blew out my back in training and was medically separated. I was fortunate enough to fall into commercial real estate and made a great life for me and my family. As time progressed, I just kept feeling a need to help other veterans and their families that didn't have as good of a transition that I did. And so as I began thinking about that, I thought, there has to be a way that we can create an ecosystem to help those veteran entrepreneurs get their businesses available to the public. It's really difficult to get over the fuzz, and most don't have the funds to be able to market actively. Additional component, as I was doing my MBA, there was a Marine Corps veteran that joined. Only after a handful of weeks, his buddy died in Afghanistan, and he was selected to escort his body back. He kind of fell apart at that point. I lost touch with him. He dropped out of the program. After a handful of months, I got in touch with him again. He was struggling. He needed a job. He needed direction. He needed help. So I was able to work with him as we were identifying resources. And I said, we have to get an ecosystem where supports and entrepreneurism come together. It helps the veteran in every facet that they need. And that was effectively the genesis. So the Support Vets app is a simple, clean interface that helps consumers find veteran-owned businesses, and then veterans and their family members to find support organizations. Service members as well. I generally use veteran and service member synonymously and when I'm speaking, but it's both an active or guard, reserve, and a veteran itself.
Excellent. Yeah. And I do see the need for it. I mean, I spoke before about other stuff in Connecticut just around the corner from my house. And, they've been up and running for a couple of years, and I didn't even know they exist. And I work in the same town. That's an issue, and, Rob, you can speak on this as far as like the visibility aspect goes and being able to get the name out of how important, even though, you have a big splash or whatever when you start, if people continue to know that you exist, how does that affect, your business or organization moving forward?
Well, I'm really excited about this concept because it's another tool in the toolbox as far as visibility goes for service members and veterans. It's very useful to be able to look up, synonymous people in the space, in the veteran space, in the business community. But as far as visibility, veteran-owned businesses need every weapon they can get their hands onto, whether it's press releases or getting on the news. But an app that's, covering people all over the country is an amazing concept, and it's something that needs to be spread out there and embraced by the veteran community, whether it's active duty, reservists, former veterans, whatever capacity. I think this is going to be a very good resource for vets.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to pass it over to Marshall real quick. I mean, you are a successful business owner, hard worker and everything else. If this app existed years ago when you started your business, how would you incorporate this? And do you think it would be able to lift your business up a little bit quicker, get you on the map faster? And what would this app do as far as a business owner, say in the California area where you are?
Man, great question. Absolutely. I wish I had this when I was first starting out. I started in 2008. So there was really no resources like this. I for one would double down, and I would actually have veteran owned in a lot of my branding in my brick and mortars. And I would be encouraging other veterans to be downloading the app to help grow the ecosystem as a part of the growing the community for it. It's something that, just like what Rob said, I mean, as many different verticals or resources you can have for visibility is going to be beneficial. And as we all know, there's veterans really like to support other veterans. And I've seen that firsthand with a lot of our retail customers.
Yeah, and I think with Vetrepreneur Tribe, if people haven't checked that out, dive a little bit into that because, fundamentally, being able to have veterans connect with each other on a social media platform and share business ideas and whatever, that's essentially what you've created with the Vet Tribe, and you and Rob have built it to what it is now. How can that incorporate it into that group that you have already?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the Vetpreneur Tribe, there's a lot of dialogue that occurs with veterans sharing ideas, bouncing ideas back and forth with each other, looking out. And actually, there's a lot of collaboration. I need somebody here. I need somebody in this profession. I need an attorney. I need someone who does hardscaping or someone who does landscaping. So having this app is just going to be an extra tool in that tool belt for veterans supporting veterans.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Gary, all the way from the UK, owner and founder of the Families for Veterans, kind of dive into that a little bit, because I do think it's important for us to get the perspective of how other veterans are going through, becoming an entrepreneur, the transition out of the military. What does that organization do, and how did that, kind of lead you in the direction of being on board as a counterpart for Support VetsApp?
We set the Families for Veterans up about 9 years ago, and we built something into it called the VetNet. And the reason we set this up is mainly on Facebook. On a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, you'll get a veteran crying out for help. He'll say, "Black dog's arrived, I need help, I'm struggling," and he's literally bombarded with up to 100 comments. There's no links, no phone numbers. So if you're the veteran struggling, you're going to be sitting there looking at your screen going, "Well, who do I go to?" So what we did, we created the VetNet, and we did all the resources within the local area. So whatever the area that the veteran's in, they can see immediately. There'll be for homeless support, there'll be PTSD support, there'll be local breakfast clubs, whatever's in that area. We've also introduced a button called Code Red, which we're hoping to introduce on the support app later on in the year. And what this does, the button's actually linked to a local 24-hour support network. So if the veteran's struggling, he literally hits that button, it'll dial the number, and somebody will pick it up. So there's no need to post on Facebook, no need to post on LinkedIn. Whatever it is, it's all central in one area, and it's immediate support, which is what's needed.
Yeah, absolutely. We see it similarly across the world. Other veterans, that I serve with, either Australia, Canada, the UK, and we go through similar issues, and being able to have that connection of understanding, how the veteran organizations operate in different countries, to have that perspective, I think is very important.
I mean, the other thing as well, because a lot of the UK charities that deal with mental health won't treat foreign nationals. So we had there's an English guy, but he served in the French Foreign Legion. So he was having a PTSD meltdown. He approached numerous UK charities. None of them would treat him till he got to us, and we treated him.
Wow.
Because it's not what veteran are you, it's you're a veteran, end of. That's it. Doesn't matter what country you served with, you're a veteran.
Right. Very, very well said. And I think that's, the whole concept of Support VetsApp. And I'll pass it to you, Walter. You've quickly since we started talking months ago about what your creation, I think you called it your baby, because you've really poured your heart and soul into this. And I think that it is amazing feats that you've accomplished thus far. In bringing it to a global scale before hard launch and having that support, what does that mean to you? And moving forward, what does that mean to the veteran community globally?
I appreciate that. It's a validation and motivation, because as I was starting to post pre-launch information feelers out there, I thought, what if we posted in these UK groups? And so I did a couple posts. Gary immediately responded, yeah, we've got the VetNet. And I messaged back, let's get on a call. Within 60 minutes of speaking with each other, we felt completely aligned. This is absolutely what we've been trying to do on two sides of the pond, so to speak. He's been working at it a long time. I've been working on it a little over 9 years now, as I've been piecemeal building it to get to the point of launch. And it's invigorating to know that the common problems that we as veterans have, it's universal, right? And so the solutions are universal, tailored to the specific area. And that's why I've deliberately partnered with Families for Veterans there in the UK, because this isn't an American offering that's going overseas. This is a global veteran family community effort that he is integrated in that area, and he can bring it best to the British veterans. But we want it to make it so that it's seamless in Australia as well, in Canada, and grow from there. Because at the end of the day, we're all veterans, and there is no group out there that cares as much for veterans as the veteran community and the family members of veterans. We have to solve our own problems. We have to do it. And my hope is that the biggest thing that grows out of Support Vets, though it's an amazing tool, it's a conversation, an awareness, and a movement to get involved. Let's solve our problems together as a veteran family, and to be able to bring the needed help and assistance that all these veterans that are crying out, and generally it feels like it's lost on deaf ears, or I can't find the right resource. I feel that we can make amazing things and move mountains literally as veterans. We all know how it is to be in a high performance team centric environment. We all know what it takes. And I think as we band together, especially internationally, there's solutions that they've thought up in the UK that we've never even thought up here in the US. And why not talk and get the best of all these different ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. And before I pass it over to Rob, kind of dive into what exactly is Support Vets and the ecosystem in which is built. All right. 2-part question here. And why is Support Vets important? Who benefits from it and how?
Okay. So at the base surface, it's a mobile app that's commercial grade, of course. It enables consumers to find veteran-owned businesses through one set of view screens. The second bit of view screens, the use case is, I'm a veteran and I'm struggling. I need support from a nonprofit. So that way it cleanly surfaces those. They'd find Gary's group, for example, in the UK. And then the last screen is, I'm looking for a government entity to give me support, whether it be in America, the VA clinics, the medical centers, the vet centers. We have a litany of resources that we've ingested there. So at the base level, it's a tool of collaboration, coordination, and communication. But it's more the kernel of the tool that's the foundation of building the movement of getting involved and solving all these problems. Over 40 vets a day are dying of their own hand, and that's terrible. And it feels to me like the only people that care enough about it to get moving are those that personally understand that. Most service members have lost a friend from suicide. I would venture that almost all have. And we know how that feels, and we want to be able to help. But generally, we as veterans, we suffer in silence. And I think that if we have more dialogue, more communication, more awareness, who benefits from it the most is the veteran and their family. And this, again, veteran service member, they can find those resources immediately and cut straight to them. It's not, okay, I get on a list or I can fill out a form fill. It's immediate contact information directly from your phone within a handful of seconds, a clean search experience. And then, of course, if you're a veteran business owner, the consumer can go to you directly, not, again, a form fill or any sort of controlled environment. It's direct communication to you. But society in general can wrap their arms around the veteran community and support this movement, because at the end of the day, we're all in free economies, free countries. That's because of the sacrifice and the service of veterans whom our governments have sent into harm's way to keep the fight on the enemy's turf. And so I think that this is a great opportunity for we as a community, a global community of those that support veterans, to come together.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I pass it over to Rob, I do think that, the uniqueness of it is that anybody can use the app, correct?
Yep.
And, I think that's important because it brings the whole community in together, and I say this wholeheartedly, and I've said it for a while now, is that you can't have community without unity. And, that's why I believe in this, concept in this app, and, the launch of it's going to be successful because you're bringing everybody in together. And, Rob, shooting it over to you, how does that, take that, everybody can use it. It's not just for veterans. However, it's veteran owned businesses and nonprofits to support with the use from anybody. How does that affect a business's growth, being able to open the horizons up to anybody being able to use it?
I think what no one has seen yet, and I just had the light bulb, is that secondarily, this is an amazing networking tool. And it kind of hit me. I'm like, I could just look up every veteran-owned business in California and reach out and make a lot of friends I didn't have before. I could reach out to people that could be potential clients. Like if someone's B2B, and this is Marshall's forte, but if someone is B2B, they could literally just reach out, grow their network just from using this alone. So this is very multifaceted. That's very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And that led me into, having Marshall jump in on that, as far as a business owner, being able to connect with other people, like-minded businesses or businesses that you may not have, connected with before. How do you feel that's going to help with growth as far as, being an entrepreneur and business owner?
Yeah, I mean, just like what Rob said, I mean, the ability to, at your fingertips, be able to reach out to someone in your area or someone in a similar field, and even a competitor, to be honest with you, because one of the biggest misconceptions about competition is that you somehow need to be in conflict or fighting with each other. But there's a great amount of people that will benefit from the conflict, and it only hurts you, as opposed to trying to find a way to work together. Because let's be honest, most markets are big enough for everybody to make money, and having this the ability to sit down and say, let's say I'm a roofer and there's another roofer in my area, being able to reach out and ask to have coffee and share ideas, or and give work. If someone is overworked and can't or has to turn away customers and jobs, they can offer to send the jobs that they can't handle to another veteran roofer, for example. I mean, I love everything about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Walter, just I want you to touch base real quick on kind of cost, and kind of seeing um, where things go. People are obviously going to wonder, like, okay, how much is it going to cost me to use this app? Whether it's just the consumer, non-veteran, and then also veteran-owned businesses and nonprofits. Kind of dive into that a little bit of how to get on the platform. What's it gonna cost me? And how do I stay prevalent in the eyes of possible consumers?
Thank you. First and foremost, there's no mandatory fees. I didn't want anyone excluded that's needing help or needing their business to be visible to the consumer at large. So, of course, there are costs and operating expenses continuing the sustainment of the tech, as well as development of additional features such as that code red that Gary had mentioned. Those all are expenses. So my sincerest request is download the app. You can go to supportvetsapp.com. One swipe up, there's a link to Google Play or the App Store. There's no cost. Sign up, you're in. After considering the broad scale, these light bulb moments, oh my goodness, there's this application and that application, there's huge value here. So voluntarily, please contribute. We have it set up through the website for a consumer, in essence, $4.99 a month contribution to be a Freedom Friend. For those veteran-owned businesses and veteran service organizations, $9.99 a month is for the Patriot Partner. And then there's an option for a flex where if you just want to do a one-time contribution or a different monthly amount, perfect. But again, there's no mandatory cost. We just ask that everyone consider the value of the ecosystem. I watched that movie, The Bank of Dave, where it's like, the question isn't can it exist? It's should it exist? Should there be a global ecosystem of support and engagement and empowerment for veterans, their families, and veteran-owned businesses? Yes, Absolutely. And that's where I'm fortunate enough that my loving spouse, Misha, she's been so supportive for so many years. We've literally made that decision a number of years ago that this needs to exist and we want to help it come to existence. And we've dedicated a lot of time, effort, and resources to make it forward. So now it's the veteran family's opportunity to support and grow. We're ingesting and cleansing hundreds of thousands of rows of data. Gary, especially in his team in the UK, is going through cleansing a lot of data. So it's growing over time. If you log in and there's not any resources in your immediate area, find them, tell them about it, have them submit. There's no cost. You submit straight through the app. So hopefully that answers your question. There is an opportunity, of course, if you're a civilian-owned company that loves the veteran mission, there's a potential for some carefully curated ad placement, no pop-ups, nothing that's going to block the user experience. That feature will be available here in the next few weeks. But generally, it's just an ecosystem that if we feel it's valuable, which I believe it has immense value, contribute what you can, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And throwing it over to Gary.
Ryan, actually, I just want to touch on that real quick, if you don't mind, before you move on. I think that something really important was said that Walter said about having that civilian component. Support civilian supporters of our mission is really, really important to embrace. And it's, as veterans, we tend to put ourselves in boxes and only work within the veteran community where we feel more comfortable. And the fact that he is embracing and opening up to civilians is incredibly important to me. You always need to try to network outside of your comfort zone, and our comfort zone tends to be veterans. So I just wanted to add that, and I love that.
Really quickly to dovetail before going to Gary, I'd love to be able to highlight two of our sponsors. So Minky Couture is a luxury blanket offering, super generous family. They've supported veterans here in Utah for a long time. They were our first official sponsor. And then just yesterday, we got confirmation that Master Control, which is an international group, is becoming a sponsor as well. There's great opportunity for these civilian companies that understand that the reason they can conduct business in such a broad scale, especially internationally, is because of the lift and effort of veterans and the war fighters. And I think that there's an untapped resource and opportunity, exactly what Marshall was saying, get out of the box. There's tons of businesses that want to support. They just don't know how. And hopefully we can get that communication going. So sorry, Gary, back to you.
Yeah. So, Gary, quick before we jump to a commercial break, people are going to wonder, okay, Support Vets app, US, Canada, UK, how is there any difference between them of how it would be utilized, or is it seamless? Because I've been able to jump on to be able to see the businesses popping up in the UK. How is there any difference between it? If not, how are you incorporating it into what you already have going on?
I think the biggest hurdle we've got is, especially with some of the veterans I've spoken to, it's, oh no, it's another app. I can't be bothered with another app. You're all being a non-profit, a small CIC, you're constantly battling against the larger charities that are already well established, such as the Royal British Legion, SAFA, etc., etc. So you're trying to shout about a free app that you're giving away, but people don't want to know about it. Why? I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest issue we've got in the UK at the moment. I mean, I've messaged God knows how many of the larger organizations, contacts that I know of, told them about it, and they still haven't downloaded it.
Yep.
And I think to answer that, from my experience and what I've seen, is there has been a ton of like veteran related repositories and websites that have popped up, lasted for a handful of months and then gone down, or they're still live, but everything's antiquated. So I think that we're in an awesome opportunity of testing and validation where people want to see, okay, let's sit back. I've had tons of people message, I'm excited about this. I want to see how it goes. Let's see how launch goes. Let's see how it scales. So that's where Gary, as Gary's group and our group here are really shouldering a lot of burden of, all right, let's prove it. Let's prove the model. And once we successfully launch in the US, and as we're scaling to successfully launch in the UK, then everyone will realize, oh my goodness, it's here to stay. There's no mandatory fees. It's powerful and international. And then I think the floodgates will open. We just have to gut it out continually. And veterans are good at doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to take a quick commercial break. But before we do, just think about, we're going to hit on the questions of the vision in the next 5 to 10 years, and how are the finances being used as they come in to help build the ecosystem and stuff like that. So we'll be right back.
It's a noble calling to join the armed forces and defend our freedoms. It's a testament to the determination and love freedom requires to care for your family while your spouse is deployed. It's a profound honor to uphold the legacy of those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. It's inspiring to choose to support veteran-owned businesses. It's rewarding to give of your time and resources to veteran service organizations. Together, we can lift our veterans and show them our heartfelt gratitude. They've given us so much. Let's give back with all the support and appreciation they deserve.
All right. Amazing commercial. Just overall, it really is a testament to what the app is about. It's about the community. It's, about the community support. And like Marshall said earlier, it's very important. And I think we can all agree of bringing that civilian counterpart of, hey, this is what I have going on, because they otherwise may not know you exist. And so, real quick before we bounce back to Walter, Rob, kind of like dive into what you think as far as visibility is your wheelhouse, your expertise, and stuff like that, and helping clients. In the aspect of using the app, how do you feel that you could use it as far as getting your visibility construct and business out there to other veterans or people that aren't veterans?
That's a great question, Ryan. Ultimately, having access to this is very valuable to me as a PR person, because I have a lot of free resources to veterans. When I reach out to veteran businesses, it's not always to make the sale. It's more to help them to grow. And so a lot of veterans just starting off in business, they'll be a part of this network, but they might not know how to get on TV or to do an effective social media plan or how to get in veteran-based magazines, all these things. So it'll be nice to just reach out and connect to them and say, hey, I'm Rob Garcia. I've been doing this for a while. I've gotten 25 people on TV. Here are some tips to get more visibility for your business. And so that's how I can provide value to the app and help everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And Walter, before we kind of dive into vision in the next 5 years and stuff, kind of piggybacking off of what Rob was saying as far as reaching out to people, the app's going to have a feature to be able to give the voice to the community and give star ratings and reviews and stuff like that for businesses and organizations. How is that going to effectively be incorporated into the app, and what is that going to do longevity wise to a business and organization on the app?
Thank you. Yeah, I have a call with the developer this afternoon to discuss exactly what that lift's going to take and how much it will cost to develop it. So in essence, we have an ecosystem that we're developing that we want all of these resources in. For an example, though, with the VSOs, that's the arena that Gary's in for the CICs, which is how they term it, a service organization that's a nonprofit. In the US, last year alone, $350 million were stolen from veterans by nonprofits. That's the numbers that I've been able to find. And the issue is there's lots of veterans unknowingly see a resource that looks good on social or online, and they engage with it, and they're taken advantage of, and they don't know. Right. And so that's why we need to have this star rating system built as soon as we have the resources to do so, where the community and generally are going to be able to rate it. So, for example, consumers will all be able to rate veteran-owned businesses one time, 1 to 5 stars, and you have to leave an expression as to why. It's not just a 0 and no confirmation, because that veteran deserves feedback, right? But veteran users will be able to rate the nonprofits and government-funded opportunities so that we as a community can validate which are amazing and do good and need to be more broadly aware of in the community so they can get the funding to amplify their abilities. And those maleficent players, they are there and they are 0 with the reviews as to why, so that everyone is aware of the wolves. And I think that's huge, because there's an opportunity for us as a community to have a voice to impact and influences those resources that are quality and those that are not quality, so that every veteran can know. You hear of a resource, jump on Support Vets, see what the community has to say. And again, we as a community have a huge lift of identifying and getting those resources into the ecosystem. But that's where I think there's the value is then, I'm an amazing business and the community has validated it. And I can encourage other veterans to get out there, get their face out there, get their brand out there and hustle, because the community is going to validate what you bring to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gary, I want to get a little perspective, because you did touch on the fact that, veterans in your community of the UK, they're like, oh, here's another app. So kind of what are the things kind of debunk what's different about Support Vets app and the veteran community, which you guys would be using it?
I think one of the biggest hurdles, is the British veteran is very skeptical. And of course, what they're saying is an American app. What's that got to do with Brits? And like I said, we've been at this VetNet's been live about 7 years now, and it's still very rarely used because we haven't got that audience, because we're fighting constantly against other, when it shouldn't have to be, because we're all doing the same thing for veterans. It's not about, look how good I am, or look how much we've got and we're getting all this and we're getting all that. But what are they doing with that? And it's just about raising awareness more than anything else. And like Walter touched on, there's so many organizations that I've personally seen over the last 8 years that have sprung up. Yeah, we're going to change the veteran community and everything else. The last 6 months and then they vanish. So the veterans are going, oh, bloody hell, another app coming out. Oh, another website. What are you going to do this time? Are you going to signpost again to somebody else? Just touching on a small example, there's the Veterans Office here in the UK. They set up a platform called the Veterans Gateway. It cost about £1.5 million, I think it was, over 3 years to get this set up. And all they do is they signpost. That's it. They don't actually do anything. And it doesn't work.
Gotcha. Yeah. So the ecosystem in which, Support Vets app is going to have is more of a integrated, user friendly, and be able to actually connect with other people, businesses and organizations through the app. Kind of touch on that a little bit, Walter, before I pass it over to Marshall. The finances obviously coming in for the app. There's a lot of money needed to build certain aspects when developing an app. Where are those finances going to be particularly used in the growth of the app over the next 5-10 years?
Oh, thank you for asking that question. And Gary, I understand what he's saying. I think that there are huge opportunities for technology to alleviate a ton of the friction and burden, which is why I personally funded this. There's no outside equity. There's no venture capital. There's no exit strategy. This is an altruistic ecosystem that will live beyond my eventual death. This continues until there ceases to be veterans and we stop having wars. As far as the funds are concerned and the funding, we do have operating expense. So globally, there's a burden on each of the groups in different countries that they have to contribute back to the maintenance and the expansion of the ecosystem. All of these features, the code red, the star rating, a myriad of other items and opportunities, people have said, hey, what about posting jobs that I need to have? What about this? What about that? Those are all pretty expensive to build, much more cost effective to maintain. And that's something as a community we need to identify and prioritize what is the most important feature next. And once we can aggregate these resources, we'll build exactly what the veterans need. It's an immediate consumer, kind of like an agile development process. The veteran community says, we need this. Everyone says, yes, we absolutely need this. Here's the money that we need. We all contribute. We build it. It's live and functional. But in the immediate term, what my hope is that the vast majority of the funds that are generated, especially in the UK, stay in the UK as seed funding and empowerment impact funding for projects that are needed in Gary's local community. If they identify a specific veteran need that needs to be addressed and they have a certain amount of funding that they need, or acumen, expertise, like many people have mentioned, we need someone with this quality, this experience, this connection in this arena. We as a community bring the acumen as well as the resources to hit the impact. So my hope is very rapidly, through the generosity of these civilian companies, as well as the consumers at large and the veterans at large, we have the funds that we can direct UK contributions into UK solutions that are helped and supported by the American counterpart, the Canadian counterpart, eventually the Australian counterpart, and beyond. But that's that in a nutshell. Is we can run lean. There isn't a bureaucratic structure. There's not multi-levels of management. This is an agile, lean operating environment, kind of tactile organization that will have a lot of impact very, very soon. And that way, the skeptical UK veteran that might have been fleeced before, they really want to see the impact from their contribution, can see it as Gary's group is literally rubbing shoulders with them, creating the solution.
Right. Yeah. And I kind of want to piggyback off of what Gary said earlier, and we see it all over the place, and before I pass it to Marshall and Rob to be able to interject into this, as far as veteran communities go, I find a lot of times people are trying to, get that imaginary veteran award at the end of the year of who's the best veteran, right? Instead of working together as a community, we all have our own lanes of operation. Even if you have a similar business than, the veteran to your left or your right, you still have your own lane, and focus on that and be able to build each other up at the same time. And I think it's a crucial aspect as far as business goes. Yeah, business is cutthroat, but at the same time, veteran community, I think we can do better and be able to support each other a little bit better. Rob, we'll start off with you before we get to Marshall's back. And so we'll go to Marshall real quick on that. And then Rob, jump in when you see fit. What do you think about that, Marshall? Your audio is not coming through. There we go. No. Unmute the mic.
Camera wants to go in and out when I'm doing this.
All right.
That's all right. Sorry. Can you repeat the question? I was totally trying to fix that. Urgent. Yep.
Yeah, basically just jumping off of what Gary was talking about, of other veterans, competing against each other as though, there's an imaginary best veteran award at the end of the year. Type of thing, how that can, damage your business significantly versus finding an avenue of approach to work together.
I honestly, I love that segue into this because my unpopular opinion that actually being a veteran doesn't matter. That's the hard reality. Like you're a business owner now, and you can choose to keep the qualities of being a veteran. That's going to help you succeed in business, and it's up to you to shed the qualities that don't serve you anymore. So when I love your analogy of the best veteran award, because at the end of the day, it's just a vanity metric. It's just a something that you kind of virtue signal, in my opinion. So being in competition with each other is just dumb. It's something false that people I see chase, I think, for their own ego. The real testament of your success is going to be how well can you adapt to being and operating your business in the civilian environment, and how can you achieve at a high level when you're still holding on to being a veteran. So it's almost a paradox in a way, because you're proud of what you did, and you get praise and you get respect and you get status for being a veteran. And you need to, the harsh reality is that you have to understand that you are much greater than what you did in the service. You as a human being, and you bring so much to the world, and you have so much more potential than what your your service can define you. And understanding how to not really rely or lean on your veteran status, but being able to empathize and work with and help each other for the greater good of actually the success that you want to look for. And that's mainly for your own good and for your families.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. And I know that, that's a hot topic button right there for some people, but the reality of it, the mindset shift, which you have to have being a business owner, even just getting out of the military, the mindset shift of integrating back into, a civilian type of life. You still have, attributes in which you taken from the military, the hardworking, and the engagement, how you conduct yourself, hold yourself to that high standard and be able to, elevate yourself even further when you get out of the military, using it as a stepping stone, not something to say. I had Scott Fryer on. He said it perfectly, is, being a veteran doesn't entitle you to be a crappy human being. Right. And, so I think that, a lot of people have to understand that, stop using it as an excuse of how you're conducting yourself. And, very well said. And Rob, what are your takes on that? I mean, you deal with a lot of people, in business and everything else, and what is your kind of insight on that as well? Because you still are on both sides of, uniform and civilian side with, transition back and forth on a, monthly basis.
As far as what Marshall was talking about, we're talking about the concept of blue ocean versus red ocean when we talk about business competition. And this was something that I had to learn at a certain point in my business, was not to worry about quote unquote competitors. When you find out who your good competitors are, the ones that are ethical and the ones that are honest, and you make friends with them, you create this ecosystem that is very beneficial to you when you're mature enough to see it. So a person that just gets into business and they're worried about competitors and they think they're going to steal all their customers and they're, out to ruin them or whatever, they're not looking at this from a big enough scope. Because when I look at guys like Justin Charpentier or James Futores, who are very, very good at PR, and I make friends with them, we can send each other clients. We all have different price points. We all have different services. We all have different offers. And so by having this network, if you're not the right person for a client, you can send that client to somebody that you trust. Everybody wins. That's the advantage of blue ocean that a lot of people fail to see in the early years of business. I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Walter, what are your concepts of that? Because I know that's, what you're trying to do with supportvetsapp, of building the ecosystem. What are your kind of insights on that, and how is it going to be incorporated into the app?
I think the basic of business is you're creating a solution to a problem. If you're worried about your competitors, that means your solution isn't strong enough, right? And I think that if you understand the target market, so to speak, of what you're trying to create the solution for, and you understand their pain very well, you're going to readily and rapidly understand it's going to take a team to fix this pain, right? The best example that I can give in this collaboration is Gary. I reached out to the group. He messaged in, let's have a chat. We had a chat. He had two paths he could cross, right? The first one was, I've been working at this a long time. I am in the UK. This is a UK built ecosystem through the VetNet. I'm going to be defensive of it. This is my baby that I've worked on. Yes, I know I called Support Vets my baby. This is my baby, and I'm going to hold it close, and I'm not going to share it. Nobody can cuddle and snuggle this baby. Nobody can appreciate the beauty of this baby. It's mine. Or what Gary did, he automatically realized, man, this is like a mirror image, but on steroids of what I was doing. If I would have had the funding to build this amazing this is awesome. Immediately, let me give you the data. His team is cleansing it, getting it in the right format so that we can ingest it and clean it up. It was immediate understanding of the pain, and solving the pain and the problem is bigger than whose name is on it. It's bigger than who's getting the visibility and the notoriety, right? This isn't a dog and pony show. This is veterans and service members that are transitioning to civilians, struggling with that shift of mindset, shedding the uniform, so to speak, as Marshall was talking about, accepting the fact that, okay, how do I operate in this new environment? And we try to go it alone generally. Don't go at it alone. Surround yourselves with veterans, with civilians, with whomever, people that are willing to support, understand, and motivate, encourage, and provide resources and experience. Because that's what Gary can provide to me. I don't understand the UK geography. They had to host me on a lot of things, how to pronounce words appropriately, right? Clearly, I'm not pronouncing things appropriately. It was just right. But I think it's a great example of the collaboration that's needed to solve the world's problems. It's not about what side, it's not about what color, it's not about whatever. It's about problem accepting that there is a problem, identifying creative solutions, collaboratively coming together. That's what it's about.
I mean, just touching on that, what you just said there as well, we couldn't do it on our own. And we actually work with 2 other organizations that we've worked with in the past over the last couple of years. You've got SOS, who always run our outreach team. And the latest one that's just joined is the Hidden Force. Both separate groups do entirely different things, but they've seen what the app can do. And yep, we want in. So all the 3 teams basically are all joined together, working as one, just to get the UK up and running. And that's the way it should be in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick, as a veteran business owner, what are the advantages of being able to use this app? How is it going to help me being a business owner in the United States or the UK or Canada as things grow? How is it going to benefit me as a business owner? And we'll start with Walter.
Okay, sorry. I think that the biggest benefits are threefold. Awareness. If nobody knows you're around, nobody can bring business to you, right? You have to pay at least $300 to $500 a month just for Google Ads or whatever to rise up to the potential they could see me, right? This is immediate. There's no pay-per-click. It's nothing. It's right there. We're channeling a bunch of people that are wanting to support veteran-owned, wanting to support impactful groups to one place. Immediate awareness is the first. The second is the opportunity for collaboration. Like Marshall had said and Rob had said, if I am a new roofer, there was a person that just posted, hey, I want to do a pressure washing business. I bought the trailer. I'm struggling with pricing, everything else. Well, if you're a pressure washer in Louisiana and I'm in California, there's going to be some pricing difference, but I can help you understand the metrics, and we're never going to take business from each other. The pie is big enough. Everyone can have a slice, right? And then the third one is motivation, in my perspective, because as a veteran entrepreneur and as an entrepreneur in general, you're often like, okay, I'm the lone person on the hill. I'm trying to fight for everything we got. When you get into the app and, for example, go to the Salt Lake Valley, that's the most robust one that we have right now in the US, and you see all those resources, and then go up to Washington and see all the businesses there. We're ingesting a mass amount there in Florida. I'm not alone. There are hundreds of veteran-owned businesses all around me. And the beautiful thing about being a veteran is another veteran is very highly likely to answer your phone call, respond to your message, and sit down for coffee or whatever. They're very likely to become a mentor because they understand the pain. They've gone through it. They've already forged the way, been a pathfinder, so to speak. Learn from them. Not necessarily draft, but there's an opportunity to get a benefit, a springboard to that next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gary, just kind of touch on that a little bit as far as the incorporation of it in the UK and how you think it's going to have an impact on the veteran community there.
Yeah, I mean, what I just said as well. I mean, the amount of people you see that say, "Oh, anybody know a brickie or a carpenter, preferably veteran," but they don't say where they are. So if they got the app in their hand, they can literally go in where it is. Right, I need a carpenter. Boom, there you go. It's a carpenter within my area. Call them up, done. And I think there's 4 or 5 veteran-owned business directories in the UK, all completely different. It's just a minefield. I think there's 1,800 registered veteran charities within the UK, but it's knowing what they do, where they are, and how they can help, and the app just solves it all. It's so easy to use and so simple. It's why people aren't using it, I don't know.
I think the lift is getting those resources in and appropriately categorizing, because it's literally manual, going through, validating with them what they provide and adding those. So people need to be patient over time. This is a nascent, embryonic app. I'm sorry that I jumped in a little bit on you, Gary.
No,
just to understand, like we are still working through a couple of bugs. Maybe check your spam folder when you sign up for the user, because you have to validate that email, all these different things. I'm personally responding to the request for tech support, support@supportvetsapp.com. Send me a message. I can help you through any challenge you're having, but it's going to take a little time. More importantly, community effort. If you want resources in your area, identify them, tell them there's this amazing app brewing that's going to help us all. There's no mandatory fee. Sign on, submit your business through the app, get it there live.
Yeah. And that was going to lead me to my next point of, as far as validation goes, of people getting on to put their business or veteran nonprofit on there. Kind of dive into briefly, how that validation aspect for the app's going to take place.
So what we've done is for the resources that we are ingesting, we've gone through the different state repositories of veteran-owned businesses, using that as the litmus for validation of veteran status. Then we've gone through and identified those that have an active online presence through a website, check the websites to make sure they're functional, and then capture those information. So that way it's a very potent initial seeding that we have into the database, right? At the onset, it is an opportunity for self-election of veteran status. There's a huge expense associated with other outside IDME, et cetera, integrations. And we're a startup. We don't have those funds right now to be able to do that. So immediately it's an on your honor. And some people said, well, there's an opportunity for stolen valor there, right? But I've also spoken to veteran entrepreneurs that said, I served, I exited, I transitioned, I bootstrapped my business. Like, hell does anyone need to validate me, right? And those freedom fighting soldiers need to be in the ecosystem. Over time, the hope is that we can get a direct integration with the VA so as to be able to validate when the user signs on, they go to the portal, validate veteran status, it's immediate, and then it's a certified veteran. And that's will be the star rating system. So those, again, are features that we're developing over time. For the resources, as far as the nonprofits, we're ingesting everyone that has defined as a mission of veteran support so that they're aware in the ecosystem, and then we need the community to validate them. That's why the star rating and the review system is so important. And we're hoping that we can get the resources readily, rapidly available to be able to build that out. So then we can confirm which are the cream and which are the dross, which are the ones that are empowering and which are the ones that are wolves. But that will be over time. The beauty about bringing visibility globally, let alone nationally, is there's an opportunity to identify a lot of problems. We're going to have a lot of potentially uncomfortable conversations. We, as veterans, have thick skin. You have to have thick skin. You have to be willing to have candid dialogue. If it's ugly, you got to call it ugly. If there's a challenge, we got to express there's a challenge and how we're going to fix it. And I think that that's a great opportunity for this global conversation to be able to identify the pain points, the friction points, the issues. Let's have conversations about solutions, actually engageable, tactical, community level solutions to all of these big nebulous problems, right? And so that's the validation that we've been going through as our team. There's hours and hours of snow blindness with Excel. Gary's team can attest to that. You're bashing your head into that data set. But at the end of the day, we're having more and more daily businesses self-submitting, so we can quickly validate, make sure, okay, the website's live. Yes, it's a legitimate business. They're claiming that they're veteran status. That's good for now. But for example, Utah has authorized us to surface their state validation. So you can go into the app, and when you go to the filters tab, you say, is certified? Yes. And it's only those that have an actual credentialed certification, like the state of Utah. My sincerest hope is all the other states that have certifications, the VA, everyone else that has a certification process, let's integrate it into the app. So that way all the consumers can have a true validation, but still enabling those veterans that don't necessarily want to get certified because they feel their service and their effort has certified themselves.
Absolutely. And before we wrap things up, I want to kind of pass it around the room to be able to have any closing remarks or something that I may have not touched on that you think's valid to bring up, or a question. And we'll start with Gary from the UK real quick. Anything that we haven't covered that you think that, your UK counterparts will be able to benefit from this app, and take it away.
All I can say, if you're a veteran, business owner, service organization, download the app. You're not going to regret it. It is life-changing, especially when it comes to finding support. I mean, over the last 3-4 weeks, it's taken me literally less than a minute to find resources when I've seen things on Facebook or LinkedIn. Literally open the app, press the button, type in the city, and it's done. It's found it. It is life-changing.
Yeah, absolutely. Marshall, any closing remarks, anything that you think that we haven't covered, or you have a, question of possibly, being a future user of the app?
I think I just want to touch on the importance of the fact that this is a global network, and it's incredibly important to understand that we're in a global economy, and limiting yourself to just the U.S. is a big mistake. So I really love the fact that it's global. I can't stress that enough. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I look at it the aspect. I mean, like you said, I mean, expansion of, even your businesses or services, especially with technology nowadays, it's crucial to be able to, have those connections globally, and be able to get, the word out. You may have something that, another veteran business doesn't do, in the UK, Canada, or whatever, and they could be able to utilize your services to then bring themselves globally as well. I think that's a good point. Rob, what are your thoughts and closing remarks of this app coming out and for the veteran community, used by veterans and community members in general?
I'm excited, and just this call alone has shown me some of the things I didn't even think of as far as accessibility and as far as capabilities of this app. I do have a question for Walter real quick. Do you guys have a plan for continued services being added to the app or functionality? Like, is there an actual project board where, like, hey, 6 months from now, if we reach these metrics, we're going to add this feature or this feature? Or are you guys going to just kind of evolve with the app as it grows?
I've got a development glide path that we've kind of come together as a team, viewing features based off of needs that have been expressed as we envision, hey, if everything is lining up and we can get the contribution sufficient so as to be able to build the features, this is how we think it will go. But we are not like this monolithic, our way is how it is. If the veteran community identifies this is the most pressing feature right now, we can inject that at any point in time in the development. My hope is this ecosystem grows and evolves to add any feature that anyone needs. We'll make sure it's a clean, clear user experience. The feature will be readily available. Again, we're still working through a couple MVP bugs, so to speak. But the intent is to be able to augment with features that are needed immediately. As soon as we get the resources, and that's what the community has identified as the need, we put play and go.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think, as things, and I've spoke to Walter offline many times, of as things are progressing over the last few months and being able to, check the app out, put my business in there and stuff, it was very user friendly. There was some stuff back and forth. And as, like he said, things grow, it will become more user friendly for the consumer and business or organization on there, because they're trying to integrate, feedback from the community, which I think is so important. Not just the businesses and organizations on there, but the community in general, to be able to utilize an app that everybody, feels comfortable using. That's their go-to, finding and supporting veteran-owned businesses and organizations. So real quick before we wrap up, open floor. Anybody wants to be able to, kind of say something about their businesses, what they have going on, and be able to give any shout outs to anybody that's helped you along the way. Let's start with Gary.
No, like I said earlier, we couldn't have done this without the support from Team SOS and the Hidden Force. And it's just about collaboration. There's lots of little networks up and down the UK, but some won't work with others because they don't like the person, because of egos or whatever. And it's just time to put egos aside and start working together as one unit. And that's that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and touching on what Rob said earlier, as far as, another tool in the toolbox, I think that, people have to have grasp the concept of having as many tools in your toolbox, whether it's networking with people, having an app like this. It's crucial for business growth and development, personally and professionally. And, what are your thoughts on that, Marshall, before we wrap up?
Yeah, honestly, I would say I have two things. The importance of visibility in your business is obviously incredibly important, and having a tool like this. But there's another side of the coin to the success you're looking to achieve, and that is how can you leverage either mentors, or can you leverage education or lessons learned, or even financial losses lessons learned from other people, to kind of bridge the gap of speed to get there faster. With that said, I really encourage anybody listening to get involved in any kind of veteran business mastermind or any mastermind. It doesn't even have to be mine or the Vetpreneur Tribe. There's a few of them out there, because I see a lot of veterans that they mean really well, and they're really trying to do all the right things, but they're not being vulnerable enough to put themselves out there or invest in themselves and collaborate with other veterans that have done it. And you don't even have to go to like the more hyper successful examples like the Robert Kiyosaki's of the world, but just even a couple people that are just a couple steps ahead of where you want to be. So that was the one thing I just want to add to that conversation is you can have all of the visibility in the world, which is important, but you still need to have the skill sets and the education to execute.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. And, it's comes down to, get comfortable being uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah.
And, whether it's through conversations and, I also speak on the fact that you have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable fact that you're not perfect and you can learn from somebody else. And, having that conversation where somebody tells you what your flaws are to better improve yourself, your business, and be the best version of yourself for you, for your business, for your family. And that's a crucial aspect. And I'm going to leave it up to Rob to wrap this up because he is my PR visibility go-to guru, and hailing from California, Dr. Rob, the Warrior Strategist Garcia. Any closing remarks, Rob?
I just want to thank everyone for getting on this call, and any veterans out here watching this or civilians that want to help, get involved in this app because this is definitely a game changer. This is something that the functionality has never been done in this combination before, and I'm actually very excited to see this roll out and some big things happening with all of us that are involved in this. So it's going to be fun to watch it grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, with it being Support Vets app, one last time before we close out, Walter, any closing remarks for people going to search for Support Vets and what they can look for in the future?
Yeah. So by the end of 2030, the goal is to have all 2.5 million estimated veteran-owned businesses on the map, in the ecosystem, involved, engaged, and helping each other. Get involved. Like Robin said, get involved. Identify a way that you can help lift a brother and sister. I think that there's this perception that I have to have it perfect. What's the MVP? It has to be functional. No, like get it good enough and get it out there. People are going to find some bugs. There might be some frustrations, frictions in the app. Email me directly through the support at supportvetsapp.com. We can solve all these problems. I felt it was good enough to unleash it because there are veterans every day struggling that if we can help one, they can help another, and that's the ripple effect, right? So again, these people on the call, the gentlemen, amazing things that they're doing through their organizations. Get involved with one, all of them, and let's, as a family of veterans, lift each other together.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you, sharing this with the world, and the creation of this, I think, is going to be a game changer. And there'll be more to follow on, everlastingveteran.com, supportapps.com, and the push for this app. Hard launch date, coming up soon. But I do have to say the way things worked out, it being Flag Day in U.S. Army's birthday today, the fact that we scheduled it for today, I think is a testament. There are some times where things happen for a reason. And, the launch, did you want to be able to put that out, Walter, of hard launch date?
Yeah, what better day to launch it than the 4th of July? So in the U.S., the 4th of July is the official launch date. November 11th will be the UK and Canada, which is Remembrance Day. And then ANZAC Day next April will be in Australia. We're trying to identify those dates that mean a lot about independence, freedom coming together. So watch for the 4th of July. That's official.
Yeah, absolutely. You heard it from Everlasting Veteran Podcast first. Walter, thank you so much. Marshall, Rob, Gary, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate all you do for the veteran communities in your own individual ways as well. And, be able to go over to supportvetsapp.com, go check it out, download the app, be able to play around with the app, and hard launch date July 4th, Independence Day here in the U.S. You guys, thank you so much, and you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.
Take care.
Take care.